Welcome to the Changeroom podcast, a whiff of wellbeing with Minnie and Matt.
On the Changeroom Whiff of Wellbeing podcast today with Minnie and Matt, we have a very, very special opportunity to talk to someone who has an amazing background in parapsychic science and has provided access to so many people, thousands of people across our community to this process. What you hear about this process, Minnie, very, very insightful. This process that increases people's accuracy, just decreases stress, improves their well-being, and on the list goes. There's not too many bad things that are associated with it. You know what this tool's called?
What's it called, Matty?
It's called meditation. Now, I know we've all heard about it,
Yep.
but very few of us have reached into our kit bag and utilised it in our everyday life. Tami Roos, who's our guest today, is responsible for leading high-level executives and companies, elite athletes, teams, but most importantly, everyday members of our community down the pathway of utilising meditation for having a better life. So Tami, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. It's quite an honor. Yeah, lovely to be here.
Awesome. Now I'll just let you know in a little rumor, you obviously hang out with a guy that used to wear a whistle and carry a clipboard around. Is that true?
Yes, that's true. One Paul Roos. Yes, the husband of 28 years now. So yes, there's been a lot of sporting moments in, I guess, our relationship, marriage, the entire time we've been together.
Yeah, excellent. He's coaching the Swannies, mate, many years. One of my favourite teams.
Bombers as well.
Yeah, Bombers as well, but yeah, Swannies is my team up in Sydney.
Demons.
So.
Not the Bombers.
Demons.
Oh my goodness. Imagine that.
Wrong team there.
Sorry about that to everyone in Victoria.
No, that's all right. The Melbourne Demons. Yes.
So tell me, before we jump in, we always ask the same question to all our guests that come on. What are some of the things that you've done today to improve your health and well-being?
Yes, love that. And that's something I'm really strong on. Those really good, simple daily habits that really help us support us. So today, I started off my morning with an online yoga class, 6:30 in the morning. Yep. That finished at 7:30, and then I did my 20-minute meditation after that. And I also make sure I hydrate really well. So for me, those three key things: exercise, meditation, and hydration, is how I start my day. I actually have apple cider vinegar with warm water in the morning, so that just starts it, and it's really good. So again, I guess I do those things that I know lift me up and make me feel better. So as long as I've done something each day that supports my well-being, I know that I can actually have a better opportunity to have the best day for myself. Yeah.
It's quite inspiring. And so, but what I'm going to do, Tami, is we're not going to fish around in the shallow end of the pool. Let's dive straight into the deep end and discuss. Look, you might have picked up by my accent and maybe by my hair color and my bit of croaky voice that I'm an Australian male, which is probably really hard to see my birth certificate from where I'm standing at the moment. And around meditation, there's a lot of resistance. It's sat well and truly in the woo-woo category for so many people. But when I looked at your qualifications in parapsychic science, that word science is involved, and you've got a doctorate in this. So when we discuss, meditation and all the benefits that we hear that go with it, what is the scientific validation behind that?
It's a great question. I love how you say you're going to jump into the deep end. So I guess for all your listeners, I did write my dissertation on the benefits of meditation to the physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual bodies, because it actually impacts every area of, the human ecosystem. It's just so profound, and the evidence, again, has been around for quite some time. But at the moment, or when I did my dissertation, actually, that was in 2007. At that time, there'd been more than 800 research and review papers written on the subject, which I will answer your question, Maddie. But post 2007, I'm aware that Last year, there was actually 3 papers being released a week on the benefits. So that just goes to show how many people are actually seeing this absolute direct correlation in the scientific community as well. Companies and different organizations, I know healthcare providers, everyone's looking for, well, how are we going to support people? What are we going to do to make their life easier and for people to be happier, less stressed, and obviously have less medical problems? So I guess number one, simply, we know the number one benefit of meditation is the reduction of stress and anxiety. That's number one. And that is, again, across all the boards. So it takes us out of fight or flight, which I'm sure, you know, for your listeners as well, you understand what that is, where you constrict and you can't breathe properly and you're feeling that bit of stress and the heightened anxiety, and you go into a relaxed state of calm. So kicking yourself out of, you know, the working on the autonomic nervous system, the parasympathetic nervous system and the sympathetic nervous system. So you go into that state of deep relaxation. And that has so many fundamental benefits for you in terms of oxygen and lactate levels and different things that happen physiologically to your body. Secondly, your focus and your clarity increases. So your mind becomes quite clear. All of you, or for most of you, I'm sure you're aware, the brain, you talk about the left side of the brain, the right side of the brain, the 2 hemispheres. What happens when you meditate is you create a bridge between the 2 hemispheres, the left and right. The left being the analytical thinking side of your brain, and the right side of your brain being the creative, intuitive side. When you create that bridge, what tends to happen is all of a sudden you get those aha moments. You become higher functioning because your brain is more orderly. So that's why people then start to notice they procrastinate less. They get more things done in a day because you become much more efficient with your time, which is another one of the positive byproducts of meditation. We also know that our energy levels are increased and restored. So if you know that you've taken yourself out of fight or flight, you've gone into a restful state of heightened awareness, it allows the body the chance to recover. And for anyone who's been an athlete, again, that was one of the biggest things for athletes. Recovery is huge, allowing the body to heal. But what most people don't understand is that that's important for all of us, okay? So every one of us on this planet has mental health. It's not a negative. We are just more conditioned to talking about exercising to look after the physical side of ourselves, or even eating the right food. So from a nutrition standpoint, we all know the benefits of that. And I know that both of you, Maddie and Anthony, that you both speak about that, you know, from the nutrition too. But what we have to understand is that mental health isn't negative. We all have it, and we need to nurture our mental state. So, you know, if I want to be optimal, performing at my best, then I know I have to look after the physical and the mental both. So it, you know, it goes hand in hand. It is this ecosystem we're looking after. The other thing that starts to happen is that our sleeping patterns improve. Again, this state of deep relaxation. So we know that that occurs. We know that our emotional regulation is improved. So we tend, the more we meditate, we become more responsive rather than reactive. And that's huge. Think about anyone listening, be it from family environments to being at work or on a team. If you are feeling less stressed and then you're able to communicate more effectively, we know that our personal relationships are enhanced, okay? So the number one precursor to poor communication is stress. So you can see how this keeps weaving in and out of all areas of our life when you have a meditation practice. So if I'm less stressed, my communication's improved, my personal relationships are enhanced. So it's fundamental to understand all these linking dots that science, again, has proven. They've also, just recently, about 3 months ago, another study came out of the States showing that a 6-week consistent practice of meditation improves your immune system by 31%. Right. So what is everyone talking about right now? The immune system, our immune health, so immunity. And we know if we're gonna, you know, so if these things about our lactate levels and being in that heightened state of rest, and we know, again, that this is gonna actually help us, it's quite amazing, like you said, Maddie, this resistance that we have to it. But I feel that that's okay, and it's changing. It takes time, and you know, you got to almost like catch up with, okay, maybe I'm ready to try something different. And I think that, you know, with meditation as well, because it's you have to be have a cumulative practice. So it's about the consistency. That's why I prefaced in that study of the 31%, it was a 6-week consistent practice. It's really key, but it's like exercise, right? Or it's like learning a foreign language or playing a musical instrument. Yeah. The more you do it, the better you are at it and the easier it becomes. So it's really, really important, I think, to understand that. One of the other huge things for any of the listeners here that people talk about is, we know we have, science has found this marker in our bodies in the DHEAS levels, and it's an anti-aging marker. What they have found is that people that have had a consistent meditation practice for 5 years or longer, they actually test physiologically that they are 12 years younger than their biological age. So that's proven, that's science. So consider that. So, and again, I went off, I actually, I was in Sydney and I actually saw a naturopath, and she said, oh, you're a long-term meditator. It was just in conversation. She goes, I would love to run these tests on you. And I said, you know what? I'd love that, because I'm all about encouraging people to do your own investigation. You know, you can listen to me saying this, but investigate it for yourself. So I said to her, I'd love for you to run these tests. It would be amazing. And she got the test back, and I literally came in at that marker. I was 12 years younger physiologically in my body than my biological age. So I think that's huge when you know that so many areas of your body from a health and well-being perspective is being enhanced. And the last thing that I wanted to stress too is that the number one emotion, sorry, I almost gave you that away. The number one emotion that science has worked out depletes our immune system is worry. So if you think about that, if you're worried, if you're a worrier, that is the number one emotion that brings the immune system down, and then you can tend to be, you know, get sore throats or runny nose, get a cough, a cold, whatever it might be. So really consider, if you know meditation alleviates all of these factors, how much healthier you're going to be in your day-to-day life.
I don't know if you're picking it up, Minnie, but I think Tami knows the stuff. The thing I want to actually share with that is that I love that you said is first of all, meditation doesn't work on one thing. So that what we know is the biggest cause of death and disease on the planet is associated with people's perception of threat, not real threat. It's way ahead of it, you know, trauma and infection. And again, you've shared with us through the activation of the parasympathetic nervous system and other mechanisms that meditation does. One, it decreases your risk of getting sick. But on the other side, you've also shared with us that if you utilize it, it also not only decreases your risk of getting sick, it improves your well-being and your health. So
absolutely. And I think one thing to preface there too with what you were saying is that, you know, it's unrealistic for anyone to think that every single day of your life is going to be a happy day or a great day. We all have emotions. So every single one of us on this planet experiences emotions, highs and lows. But if you can have a practice that helps you navigate life to the best of your ability, then it can kind of eliminate what you're talking about, Maddie, with the whole idea about the perceived threat versus real threat. So if you're less anxious and if you're feeling like I'm supported and I'm safe, I've got a tool or an asset that I can use in the space of my own home or in my office or when I've parked the car. There's, you know, you can do it when I'm traveling. I can do it sitting on a plane. The reality is this is a practice where you're learning to come home to your inner world. And I don't think people understand that. Our whole life, we go through pretty much very externally focused, don't we? We're looking outside of ourselves. You know, we're getting in the car. What do I have to do next on the to-do list? What about the job, the wife, the husband, the kids? Who's got pickup? Who's done this? Did you make that phone call? So it's not until you go, oh, I'm going to stop. I'm going to pause. I'm going to draw my awareness internally. And then all of a sudden you go, oh, what's going on? You know what? Actually, I'm tired. Or, geez, I kind of have a scratchy throat. Maybe I just need to, you know, I got to have some vitamin C or I need to eat healthier food or you start to tune in what's going on. I'm really happy today. What made me happy? And then you might start getting those aha moments and you start linking things in. But meditation truly reminds you of the beauty of coming home to you, because I don't know what's going on inside your life, Anthony. I don't know what's going inside your life, or, you know, inside your head, that is, when I say that, Maddie. So it's an individual practice, isn't it?
You don't want to know.
No, but what I'm saying is if we take ownership and if we take some personal responsibility of understanding our health and well-being, is actually, no one can do it for us, right? It actually is on us. So I have to do those things to help support myself, because the one thing too I'll say to any of your listeners is, you cannot, all the things that I've just highlighted in terms of the benefit, science hasn't come up with a pill. You can't buy this. You can't go to a chemist and go, I want a pill that's going to do dot, 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 and dot, all the benefits I've just mentioned. It's not on the market. It's not there.
So again, I'm going to ask you to step outside the scientific realm then. And because this has to be assumption based, because I don't think there's been any study on it. You can't refute what you've shared. I challenge anyone to do that. So, like, I don't have to buy a caftan to do this, do I? I don't have to burn incense. Do I have to climb a mountain? Why? Explain to me why. People, why is this resistance to it? Do you have any idea?
Look, it's a great question. Number one, I'm going to say everything you highlighted is correct. No, you don't have to sit in a contortionist pose. You don't have to chant. You're not going to have dreadlocks. You're not going to change your friendship group. All the things, and it's not religion. There's so many it's crazy. I had to address it.
You said the dreadlocks. I reckon, Minnie, you look good with a set of dreadies.
Anyway,
sorry, I digress.
But, last week I was actually posed that question about this being related to religion. So there's a lot of stereotypes, and it's not about religion. It's about relaxation. So first and foremost, I'm going to answer your question, but I want to just set the tone here. My definition of meditation is relaxing the body and quieting the mind. It's a form of relaxation. Simple, end. That's it. It's a form of relaxation. So number one, I think some of the resistance is around people thinking, it's airy-fairy and it doesn't do anything. But as you said, we've just ticked that box. But I think the biggest thing is that we all go through life and we're all trying the best that we can, right? And I honestly, truly believe with my hand on my heart here that unless you've had the experience and you've practiced it, you don't know what you don't know. And you've got no idea how much better your life can be if you add this into as little as 5 minutes a day into your small daily habits. Your life will transform, truly. I've had so many stories of people that have just changed their lives from this practice. So, it's that resistance to what we don't know. We tell ourselves we don't have enough time.
Yeah.
That is the second biggest thing, not enough time.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask, because everyone's got busy lives and they don't put time aside for themselves. They're always thinking outside. What you just mentioned earlier really struck a chord. For me, when I was playing rugby league, being a professional athlete, I just naturally visualised my game, and then it turned into meditation towards the end of my career after I had more knowledge about it. And now I set time aside to do it because I know it makes me feel less stressed and more clear, like you just mentioned. But it's consistency, like you said, and most people don't do it consistent enough. Or what have you seen in this space? So how do you get them to do that consistently?
Yeah, look, again, such valid points. You're saying consistency is really hard, but you have to value your health. You have to place a value on it. Yeah. And you have to understand that your mental health is part of your health. Yeah. It's interrelated. You can't separate it. We all have a brain. We have 70,000 thoughts a day, the average human being. 70,000 thoughts, most are unconscious. So how do you take your body into a state of just rest? Like, wouldn't it be great? Like, people want that quick fix. They want the magic pill. Okay. People want an easy way out. They want to hit a switch and go mind off, no thoughts, just zone out, which I feel is in some way why, and I will probably emphasize here, people sit on their phone and they scroll. They don't realize they're trying to just turn it off. But so they almost like try to numb themselves. Yeah. So they just look at their device like, I'm just going to scroll. And all of a sudden that 5 minutes turns into 10, whatever it is, and so we know that in one way it's like they're trying to give themselves a pause. They want relief from the demands and they don't know how to go about it, which again is why, and not to, hit a sensitive nerve here, some people tend to drink more, right? We've seen in this current environment, people are drinking more because they're trying to numb down just to feel a little sense of relief and that stress relief, right? But back to the point we were talking about with not enough time, we're all busy, right? But I don't know if any of you have truly considered how many minutes we have in a day. We have 1,440 minutes in one 24-hour clock.
Yeah.
So are you 1,440 minutes? I'm asking for you to give 5 or 10 minutes out of 1,440 minutes.
Not
so
much.
if you tell me, if you tell me you don't have enough time, I would just say then you probably just don't value your health enough. And you need to truly understand, I've got this one body, this one mind, and if I want to really show up, and this is the other thing that people don't understand, is that the more you give this gift to yourself, everyone in your entire environment is affected by it. So if I show up and I feel calmer and I feel more present, that means I'm listening, I'm engaging, I can see you, I can show up for you, I can be a better listener. It also means that people in the household go, wow, look what are they doing? Like you almost show, and it it's like when you skipped rocks as a kid or you saw ripples in a pond, the waves continue outward. So it goes on, even if I go down to the coffee shop to get my coffee, then the barista feels that too. So every time you engage in this practice, you're working on the subtle bodies, which is really hard for people to understand because it's not seen, right? And that would be the other thing why people, Maddie, are resistant to it. Okay, that'd be the third, because you have to trust it. So if I go to the gym, I can see if I'm lifting more, if I'm running faster, longer, etc. You see the difference, right? But with meditation, you have to trust it's happening because it's an internal process. So it's more about assessing, how do I feel before I meditate? How do I feel after? And then setting some micro mini goals. I'm going to start with 5 minutes or even 3 minutes a day. I'm going to build up to 5 and I might get to 10. And I'm going to give myself the best shot to do this for 21 days or whatever it is in a row. And you will truly start to go, wow, what's happening? I'm so different. I am calmer. I have patience. I don't feel as rushed. So it literally transforms from the inside. Yeah. And Anthony, you stated before, when you do it, how much better does it feel when you have a clear mind? Oh my gosh. And you're like, not that foggy brain, right? And you go, wow, I just have this clear mind. And it's an amazing feeling.
It is.
So I'll tell you what I'll add to that, Tami. I'll add the other thing is the other resistance around it. It's so expensive to do. Like to spend that 10 minutes, like it costs a fortune. And you know what? I'm being honest. People's resistance to it, or people that have made it woo-woo, there's no money in it, in getting well. You're helping people decrease stress and improve their wellness for free. So that's the cynic in me. There's no doubt about that. And I think that's something that is worthwhile acknowledging in this process, is that this doesn't cost you anything. This is something. And can I also add to Tami, the other thing about your 21-day experiment, if we're encouraging people to do that, you know what, for me, when you notice it the most, so I've been doing this since the 90s. If I don't do it for 2 days, it's like when you exercise all the time and you stop exercising, all of a sudden you feel awful. You will notice it when you stop doing it rather than when you keep doing it. Agreed. It's really, really interesting.
Yeah. No, I had an example of that. So again, for your listeners, I learned to meditate in 1999, so it's 23 years now, and it's a daily habit. But about 3 days ago, I didn't get my normal, 6:30 a.m. meditation in, and I waited till about 3 in the afternoon. I couldn't work out why things weren't just flowing for me. And I felt a little bit like on edge, and I went, oh my gosh, like it's become such a habit. As soon as I meditate, I'm like, oh, the world is right again. And that's what it feels like. So yeah, I encourage every one of your listeners, try it. You've got so much to gain from doing this practice. And I would say you have so much more to lose if you don't try, because you can't expect change if you're not willing to do anything differently. You just, it doesn't happen. There's no get out of jail card. There's no free pass. We have to put in the time and the effort to do it.
So let's talk about this practice, and and you've made the analogies to the physical and mental. So if I decide I want to get fit, well, there's 4,020 ways I can get fit. I can go to CrossFit, I can go to swimming, I can walk, I can run, I can do all sorts of stuff. I can do mini fit.
Thanks,
See me
mate.
get that in?
You got it in, didn't you?
Ah.
I'm looking up. You can do mini fit. And again, same with learning, right? I could be an audible learner. Some people are tactile learners. There's a whole lot of different ways we can do it. So you're talking, and I know with meditation, there's transcendental, primordial, there's Keely meditation, the type of meditation that I do. There's mindfulness. What about the practice that you encourage, Tami? What is that, and how does that benefit us?
Okay, so great. So I learned primordial sound meditation. And that was using a mantra, which is a repeated sound or phrase, okay, that you say over and over again. And the idea behind primordial sound, or even transcendental, which I've studied that as well, is that with that repeated sound, the mind will slip into the gap between the thoughts. All of a sudden you'll let go. With time, that repeated sound will help you get into the flow of it, because it keeps the mind busy in a way. It distracts the mind initially when you might have a lot going on. There's also the guided visualization meditations. So you get taken on a journey with someone, and you're visualizing what they're saying, but that allows you to go into that meditative state. I did a 2-year parapsychology course as well, and it was 2 years of guided meditation. So I'd gone from primordial sound to guided meditation. And post that, all I wanted was silence. I just was like, I just want the silence. And I started really just using breath. So for me, it was the breath work. I've also studied transcendental, as I mentioned. So in a way, I've been a seeker of meditation in terms of trying different forms, but I always come back to breath. For me, it is the link between the breath, the body, and the mind. So I focus on the sound of my inhalation and the exhalation, and it is so simple and so easy to do. When I'm teaching and offering with my online platforms, I have guided meditations, because I do believe that it is far easier in the beginning to learn and have a guide to follow to help set up the practice. And so I do it in the form of guided meditations. And then I think one of the benefits of guided meditations that not many people talk about is that they can have set intentions. So it could be a guided meditation for clarity, or maybe it's focus, maybe it's stress release, maybe it's relaxation, maybe it's for connection, maybe it's for balance. So I can actually create and have created meditations that are based on different states that you are trying, and have the intention, which is that conscious choice that you've made, that's what you're doing in this space. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, that was going on to my next question. This will be a 2-part question, but if you're working with CEOs or elite athletes or people with trauma, do you actually assign them different types of meditations for the individual? Is it adaptable? And yourself personally, the second part of the question, do you mix your meditations up, or do you do the same one now that you've just mentioned you love silence and you work with the breath? Do you do that all the time, or do you mix it up yourself as well?
Yeah, great question. So number one, yes, so I'll answer the first one. In terms of athletes, CEOs, obviously, when you're working with someone who's got a set specific agenda, so I've got to clarify that. Yeah. So with athletes, they might be about game performance, but it also, what they start to understand is that even if their initial intention was about performance on the field, what they then start to realize is this is impacting me at home and in my private life as well, away from a club, or the arena, wherever it may be. So they understand then it starts impacting all areas of their life. So it's about the intention. So with athletes, obviously visualization is incredible, because when I worked with the players, I'd get them to, we'd have, with Melbourne Demons, we actually had 3 days of meditation, and I would work with them though on game day before the game to see them, we would go through the game, and how they were playing.
It's funny, I used to do that as well, and I felt going into a game, if I hadn't done that, I was missing something.
Yeah. So, and it's amazing, this clarity. And Paul always loves to show me and different things that are showing up, current news stories. And Christian Petrarca, who I worked with, is now doing that before games, and he's visualizing and doing the breath. How does he want to see himself on the field playing? And it's so powerful. And you know, you're seeing a lot more athletes acknowledging that this is a practice that they're doing. I mean, you can't underestimate the power of what's above the shoulders, right? We all know that with athletes, they've got everything going from dietitians to strength and conditioning to your coaches to strategies, tactics, et cetera, et cetera. But it's going to be, Paul used to always say, it's going to be what's above the shoulders that's going to make the difference. So if you've got that clarity of thinking and you're really clear on what your agenda is or your intention, it's so much easier to achieve. Now, if this is talking to a CEO, or it's the mom, or it's the dad, or if it's the student, again, you still have the same outcome, which is to that deepened state of rest, where you are actually allowing the body to unwind, the thoughts to quiet, and you still get the benefits. But you may then say, we're going to work with a deep relaxation, or we're going to work with balance. We're going to work with the meditation for clarity. Really up to the individual. That's what I want to say. So I do start off with everyone, and with the children as well. I've got one called Rainbows and Unicorns, and it's amazing how Butterflies and Unicorns, how the kids just gravitate to that. But the most beautiful thing is I've got the parents going, oh, I love that. That was actually really relaxing, because it's making them again go back into imagination. Yeah. So you're just allowing yourself to unwind. So there's specific meditations that you can use for everyone. And there's not a right or wrong. For my own practice, I always, I do work a lot with silence, but if I have a specific need or desire, I'll think, wow, you know what? I don't want to even I almost want to give myself that extra bit of a oomph that, yes, that's right. That's my intention. So I'll do one of the guided meditations that I've done, and I'll follow that. So does that make sense? Yeah. So I do mix it up. And I think, meditation should be fun. Can we clarify that? This should be fun.
Definitely.
This is like the thing that I get so excited over, because I'm like, oh, I don't have to think. I get to sit there. No one can contact me. I'm not answering the phone. I'm not doing emails. It's like, guy, flip it, change your perspective on it. This is like my time out times 100. It's the best thing ever.
Minnie, you must do a lot of meditation, because you never answer the phone when I ring you.
That's just, I've got you on block actually at the moment. Yeah, a bit annoying.
Carry on.
No, but you mentioned kids, Tami, and I work with kids in my program a lot. And what I've found is there's always less resistance with kids, and they're always open to trying anything and everything. How have you found it?
I could not agree more. I had such the privilege, now with online schooling, doing some Zoom calls with classrooms. My gosh, it's just, they're so open. And I think what parents and adults tend to forget is kids can get stressed too.
Yeah.
And we really forget that. And they forget that, you'll get comments like, oh, it just felt so good. I just wasn't so busy, and I just was allowed to relax. And you forget that they can be very aware of what's going on as well. In the, if it's in the school environment or in the home environment, they're sponges. They're picking up everything too. We are energetic beings. Yeah. And a really simple analogy for any of your listeners to comprehend that is, who's ever walked into a room and you think, oh, something's just happened. Like there's an argument or fight, like you can feel the tension in the room. Okay. I know that both of you talk about the locker room. A locker room setting where if it's going to be the anticipation of the match ahead feels one way, versus I'm gutted, we just lost, versus, okay, I'm angry, I'm filthy at whatever just happened on the field, or, so there's differences in energy. So children pick that up too. So kids are just so, they're just such sponges, and they're amazing at being open and wanting to learn and embrace this. And I can't stress enough, if you do this for your children, you're setting them up with one of the greatest gifts for life, because it teaches resiliency. That's one of the byproducts. You are more resilient. I forgot to mention that in the benefits. Resiliency is amplified the more you meditate. And again,
that's getting lost too with our children, the resilience to bounce back. And
Absolutely.
Age.
Yeah, and I think it's also the idea that whatever you're going through, it's going to pass. It's, you know, tomorrow's a new day. We have to remember that it passes through us. So you don't get as hooked up on thinking, like, if it's woe is me, you know, I'm feeling sorry for myself, or wow, you know, this is the world's a scary, terrible place. It's like, no, you move through that because you allow the emotions to come up and filter through you.
So I've got a bit of a long-winded, because I had to put a line through my next question, because you've already sort of answered like what we can expect as outcomes. But I guess my access to meditation in the mid 90s was through reading a book called Sacred Hoops by a guy called Phil Jackson, who coached the Chicago Bulls and LA Lakers. I think he went okay as well. He had a reasonable
championships.
had a reasonable career. So, you know, my motivation to get involved was from a performance side of things. And as time went on, and I kept it very much to myself initially because of some of the, you know, the preconceived ideas around what meditation was, as opposed to what it can do for you. And, you know, I moved into coaching in Australia, and I snuck it in with a playing group who hadn't gone so well, and we came second in the regular season. It started to leak out a little bit. So all of a sudden, Matt Elliott became weird because he did meditation and got his players to meditate. And I can tell you, it's that playing group, a lot of them still contact me about, can you give me a hand with getting back into it, because I've lost my groove. But I know you collaborate, you've talked about your collaboration with Paul, you know, with teams. How did Paul handle that, you know, the resistance? Again, I know we've already spoken about it, but the weirdness associated with meditation in such a blokey environment. How did you both manage that? Because I know that I've got no doubt, you've already quoted the science, there's a performance outcome that you're going to get from it, but there's also other outcomes that you end up becoming a better person without even realizing it. So how did you navigate through that? I know that was a long-winded question.
No, it's a great question, and I love that. Well, Paul learned with me in 1999, so he was meditating daily as well. So in 2003, when he took over coaching, he decided, look, again, that whole concept that I already mentioned to you about, if there's one thing we're not doing with the playing group, it's looking after the mind. So he felt this was like the next like untried frontier in sports, so to speak, in terms of, but also understanding, you know, we want to make them better people, which you just mentioned, Maddie. It's like help them be better versions of themselves. Yeah. Like just to support them, because, you know, everyone has a lot on their plates. And so I think one of the things, firstly, I cannot comment highly enough about the Sydney Swans playing group, because there was no kickback, no one, you know, we didn't get a lot of resistance to bringing it into the club. And you got to remember, this was 2003, like way before other clubs were doing this.
Yeah.
We were early days. I think what helped was, one, a lot of those players had played with Paul. Yeah. So he was the player and now the coach. They knew him. We all had a relationship. They knew me as well. They knew, I guess, what Paul and I stood for and how we showed up. Does that make, you know, like how we were showing up and what we were doing. And so they had that trust in us that, well, look, if it's working for you, we might as well try it. So it was like, we'll try it until maybe we don't like it or if it doesn't work. But the point was, it worked. And so we started off with this, you know, we broke it into groups too, because you know how with sports, you've got like the first year, second year, the rookies, then you have the 2 to 5 year group, and then the 5 year plus. So I had 3 different groups of players coming to our home. I wanted to do it away from the footy club because I wanted this to be about them. And I wanted them to see that this was genuinely coming from not them just as players, but because we cared. We wanted them to feel the benefits. So we did it at home. And it was extraordinary. What started off with being 6 weeks and for the whole season, with them coming every single week, and was just like, you know, honestly, seeing them transform, and then how they started using it before games or after games. A lot of people don't realize, but athletes have a really hard time after getting ready for so-called the battle. You're in that fight or flight, you are on the field. Really hard to go to sleep at night, right? And we know that actually inhibits recovery. So all of a sudden I had some of the players going, wow, you know what, Tami, like we have Swans in those days, we had a lot of night games, right? Friday night games. And so they, you know, and then they had recovery early the next day, and you're going, you've really only fallen asleep at 3 or 4 in the morning, and you're getting back up at 7 to go to recovery or be down at Bondi Beach or wherever it was. Like, that's not ideal. So it was really around, look, use this as recovery too. If you're struggling sleeping, do a meditation. Okay. Set yourself up to go into that state of relaxation. So that's how we worked it. But I do think that Paul never, I guess, because he was trusting and he knew what he was experiencing too, Maddie. He wasn't looking at it as, I don't think he really felt threatened by doing it. I know, in a way, I always look back on it and go, God, it did take a lot of courage for him to bring this in. And obviously from a board level, you're a new coach saying, I want my wife to come in. That could have potentially gone down like a ton of bricks. Not real.
I can tell you, it went down like a ton of bricks with the board I was working with. I can tell you.
Yeah, and I can see that because not everyone's open. But I guess in a way, you know, I do really look back, the culture that was created at Swans, there was this fundamental trust and what they were trying to do as a group, and the board supported Paul in that. So we didn't get the fight back. People initially go, what are you doing? And then all of a sudden they're kind of going, hang on, maybe this is working. And then I started having the wives telling me, oh, we went to bed with you last night. And I said, that sounds awful. What do you mean? And it's like, you know, we're listening to your tape before you go to sleep at night. And I thought, wow. So then it was going on to the wives and the girlfriends. And so you're seeing this impact where everyone was feeling better in themselves, and it was impacting everyone. So again, like it was all positive.
So I know the collaboration with Paul's gone on and on now, even after Paul's stopped coaching. I know you've written a book together. How does that collaboration look now? You know, when you're working together in the same environment, you know, you're not working with Paul's team, but you're working with your clients. How do you collaborate there?
Well, interesting enough, Paul and I do work a lot together actually at the moment as well, in terms of literally with clients, the two of us, because he's focusing on the leadership and I'm doing the well-being. So it's going hand in hand. And Paul he had a great quote that was, oh, here he is. He had
Hello, mate. Nice to see you.
He had a great quote.
I'm glad I knew I was just about to bag him.
He had a sneak preview, which sorry, I'm off track now. He said, the health of your organization or the health of a leader is really dependent on the health of you as an individual. So Paul fundamentally was just like to everyone, guys, you've got to look after your own health too, because that's going to dictate how healthy your company is. So it was when we really started formulating that, he's got Performance by Design leadership company, and I'm in there in the wellness component. So helping support some of the companies they work with in getting meditation on board for those companies and helping them do that. And we've also, we're partners in a group called the Nurture Group, which leads their business and wellness retreats in Fiji. This year, unfortunately, they're not going ahead, but next year. So they've been going for 5 years now. Paul and I have been involved this is the 3rd year now. So we've got Nurture 360, men and women. It's all wellness and leadership. We've got speakers from around the world that come in, and it's just a very immersive experience. And I think the benefit of that is, you know, I'll do meditation every day with the group. We set intentions at the beginning of the day. We've got different wellness people, from if it's yoga to functional strength and fitness groups. Paul will take a group for a walk or a jog. Like, we've got different things happening. But it's also the leadership stuff. So we're really supporting them from that business environment. And the one thing I guess that's a bit different about that is all the speakers stay for the duration. So instead of, and I'm sure both of you have had the experience, if you go do something, a retreat, you stay or you talk for an hour and then you leave. Our speakers stay on, so everyone gets the interaction with them, and they love that. So it's a kind of a very cool concept.
Yeah, I love it.
We know that you've stolen Nam off us there. Nam Baldwin, one of the Changeroom
mentors. I know. We love Nam. We love Nam. He's so good. No, and he's supported us in that, and he's helped me with my. I've got a new program called Love Your Mind, And that really came about, I was invited to India, and I was invited to, it was my first time, and I went, God, when was it now? A year ago, March, so March 2019. And it was, and the conference was called a critical response, a spiritual response to critical times. I always flip that. And so I was really quite fortunate. I was around some people who've been meditating 40, 50 years of their life, some, really serious meditators and yogis, but that they were really seeing. But the thing was, there was the vice president of Argentina was there. We had CEOs, we had engineers, wow. We had some really phenomenal people at this conference. And I got asked to speak. We were in the Gandhi Stadium, and it was kind of like, wow, my biggest audience had been about 350 people, and I got asked to speak in front of 10,000, and I wasn't anticipating this, and it was phenomenal. What came to me was this idea that we have to almost change the word meditation, because it's really about learning to love the mind. So we say love your body, love what you put in it, exercise. We have to have this correlation that the mind is so important and such a big part of this, So from that whole experience, I started Love Your Mind, and we've got experts, guests each month that come on, and the different meditations and videos and downloadable resources to really keep people accountable so they can build a practice. We've got 1 minute meditations, 3 minute, 5 minute, and onwards. And so that's how I thought of Nam, because he was one of our speakers, and people were just blown away about his knowledge, again, on breath awareness and just our health, our sleeping patterns, just how we function. So yeah, it was brilliant.
Really powerful. I don't know if that cleaner is still around in the background at all, but I would like to ask if Paul is around, is that if you are, like, if we're running a leadership program and we want to help people, what the impact of it would be if they didn't have the wellbeing side of it attached to it. So it was just that, that amazing leadership delivery that's there. And I think this is very pertinent for the services that we provide as well, and why we try and take a holistic approach, is that how effective do you think if what Paul delivers didn't have the contribution that you're making, how effective do you think it would be?
So one, Paul had to go do another Zoom call, so I apologize. He's off.
No, he's in the smallest room of the house, isn't he?
No, he's literally he went to do a Zoom. No, I think, look, he would actually say, it's funny, but you gotta walk the walk if you're talking the talk. And Paul and I both really live and breathe this. So for him, if he's trying to say you need to be a healthy, high functioning leader, you have to look after your well-being. So he would find that it doesn't work. It doesn't go hand in hand. You might start him off initially, with performance by design. You might get some of the culture stuff set first, but the introduction to wellness does come into it, because you can't have one without the other if you really want to be high functioning, high performing.
Yeah,
and so
I think people are starting to wake up and educate themselves about their own health, and how it's not just one or two factors. Nutrition, sleep, stress management, environment, meditation, all that type of stuff comes into it to affect all your states. And I think people that are really looking at their own health are starting to really look outside of the box, and well, not outside the box anymore, but there's a lot of factors that go into being healthy and happy. So that's fantastic. What about some of the stories, or in the Changeroom, we've seen people just transform, sometimes within a week with the program. What about some of your favourite stories that you've seen people transform their own lives?
Yeah, there's two that come to mind. And one was CEO of two companies, high, definite, like anal, like high, personality A, stressed, get things done, always on, but also was probably pretty impatient and angry a lot of the times, and didn't realize it. Managing a lot of things, doing the best he could, but didn't understand how different his life could lead or be if he was to engage in a meditation practice. And he ended up doing my 6-week meditation mindset program. and literally, from his staff to his wife to himself, it said he transformed his entire life. So much happier, so much more present. But
Yeah.
I think the big thing was the dynamics, both at home and work, change, and everyone enjoyed being around him more. And just the difference in his face and his energy when you see him now, he just said, every day, I never give it up now. Like how calm he is. And things that used to ruffle his feathers just don't anymore. But it was, and to be honest, when he shared it with me, he was in tears because it made that big of a difference to his life. He said, potential for some very negative things to have taken place if he hadn't embraced this. So that was a massive, massive tick. And the other one too, and I think, saying just for simplicity's sake stories, but was this woman that had shown up to do my course, and she was just, she seriously was distracted, looked exhausted. I really thought she was on the verge of a breakdown. Her skin even had that gray pallor, like just absolute exhaustion. And she said, this is what's going on in my life. She was trying to work, manage a home, 4 children, a couple of her children had needs and required a lot of attention. And I just thought, she definitely is someone that can embrace this program. And she started doing it in about week 3 of the program. She walked in, and it wasn't just me, but it was others in the room going, oh my gosh, like she had the glow back to her skin. She was smiling. She didn't look like she was going to crumble and collapse on the floor anymore and cry. And she said she realized straight away, she said that morning, the difference that meditation made to her. But what she had to do was flip it. She had to get up 20 minutes earlier. So she set her alarm earlier in the day to make sure she got it in. She said, you won't believe my morning. And I swear to you, this is without making it up. She said, I got up and meditated. I was able to put the laundry on, make 4 different lunches, get the breakfast going. She goes, I got ready for my work day. She goes, and I actually washed a window. I said, you what? She goes, I washed a window and got the kids ready off to, doing school drop-offs, and got to work on time. And I was totally relaxed. And it was like everyone in the room just sat there going, if you couldn't have seen a bit, both stories were these absolute transformational stories, and how they felt internally, like they had more joy again. They had more happiness in their life. And the people around them, I have no doubt, actually felt it as well.
Yeah, I love that. I love those stories, and again, it just makes me reflect on how fortunate we are. And when you get the opportunity to make those types of difference to people, and again, you've made me sort of shift into moments that we've had in the program. What about that? And again, I can remember one where I had to leave the room actually, where I just go, I'll be back in a tick because I got so emotional about it. What are the health impacts of you when you witness that someone's taken a practice away that you've taught them and they have that transformation? How do you feel that impacts your personal health?
Well, it creates more joy, doesn't it? It's fulfillment and contentment. You literally, I hear those stories, and I am just so honored that I was able to, I just feel like it was I've been given such a gift. Number one, to be able to share it, to teach them, but then for them to come back and allow me to be the witness of this transformation is just an absolute gift. So I feel incredibly blessed is I guess the right word.
You talked about having fun, making meditation fun earlier. How do you do that when you're obviously getting people to be silent and you just focus on their breath? Is that a common thing? Or, out of meditation, your fun arises, and Matty always talks about fun. He thinks he's the funniest bloke in the world, but
I don't think that's a fact.
But how do you incorporate that into your practices with what you teach?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? But under fun is curiosity, isn't it? Curiosity, imagination. So can you be curious? So you've got to, it's like, wow, using your imagination again. Like, when's the last time like you really kind of sat back and go, I'm going to be still? If you're practicing a mindful moment, And I say to someone, just lay on the grass, look at the sky, watch the clouds go by in the sky. Like, when do we allow ourselves just to almost be childlike again with that sense of wonder? So that's what I'm saying about, God, like, fill yourself up with wonder. I wonder if ... You know, that's why I'm always huge on the gratitude bank too. Build your gratitude bank, because you want to create more positivity, joy, and elevate your emotions. Because what most people don't understand is you have to have a thought first before you have an emotional response. Thinking precedes the emotion. So if I'm having positive thoughts, I'm going to have positive emotions. So the quality of my emotions, the quality of my experience is elevated, because I'm actually now, do you understand that? I'm now having positive thoughts. So it goes hand in hand. So it's amazing how powerful it is. And you just say, well, for instance, if, like I said to you with the, one of the meditations I have for kids is about the magic dragon. Oh my gosh, the kids love the magic dragon. They find a dragon sitting on the path in front of them, and they have this conversation. And, you know, so you're creating it so that it's this wonder. It is magic. I think, you know, for a lot of us, and I don't say this disrespectfully, because there's days when I have down days without a doubt, and you kind of go, okay, this isn't my best day, but I'm going to do, you know, I've got this practice and we know it's going to pass, and that's why we're really lucky. Because we work at it, you know, we all work at it. That's the key. But I think it's just, some of the magic's left life right now, and we have to remember we have to cultivate it and have fun, and don't take life so serious. And you know what? We don't need to have all the answers either.
Do you find that's true. Yeah. Do you find that's one of the things that gets lost straight away when stress is put upon us, or more work is put upon us? All that imagination, being a kid again, just goes out the window.
100%. And one of the greatest qualities with Paul is, and he always tells me, we laugh again, because I thought, far out, I've got 3 boys in this house. I don't have 2. Like, he's seriously like a big kid. But I actually think that's one of the most, to me, that's one of the gifts that, from my personal experience, that I see men do so well compared to women, is they can bring fun. They'll wrestle. They will, you know, whatever. I mean, the other day, Paul and I are at the moment in the middle of packing up our house because we're moving, and it's like, oh. And the other day, he literally picked me up and was kind of like running with me over his shoulders, and you kind of go, and then I was laughing because it diffused it. So have fun again, like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not stressed. Okay, yeah, that was funny. Okay, yeah, like, here I go. So it's about, and I think that's one thing too that men just have this great capacity to do, is bring fun. You know, not be so serious, and enjoy the moment, you know. And maybe it is a lot of these athletes that I'm around, and because they're physically, when you exercise too, I think you release a lot of endorphins, as we know. You feel better, so maybe that brings more of the playfulness into it. But it's important to have play in your life.
You always say, man, you know, having fun will
be happier. It's a choice too.
We've lost you.
Oh, yeah.
There you are.
I can hear you. So, yeah. I guess the thing that we're hearing about fun, and like everything here, it's a deliberate practice. It's not something that you can hope to happen. It's something that you actually have to work on happening, because if you're just waiting around for it to show up, sometimes you got to hold your breath for a long time. So it's, you know, that is such a strong message. And I guess,
I love that.
We also, again, what we want to talk to you about, and we hear from Nam, you know, how amazing your retreats are, but it's very hard to be running retreats at the moment. Is that right? It's, you know, it's very challenging. So how do we access, you know, Tami Roos and the great programs that you have available at the moment?
Thank you for that. It's just on my website. If you go to www.tamiroos.com, you can find it there. For your listeners, it's TAMIROOS, like the kangaroo, obviously. So TamiRoos.com, it makes it much easier. People still struggle sometimes with my accent. So, and my programs are all there.
Is that a Victorian accent?
Yes, no, American accent there. So maybe it is. It's a Victorian lockdown accent.
Yeah.
So I've got Love Your Mind, which is, again, kind of like the CEO, the athlete, the people really trying to get that extra 1% into their life. And you've got Sandcastles, which is creating that space for children and their parents. That's 4 to 12-year-olds. And then I've got my real deep dive course, which is the meditation mindset, a 6-week online course. So they're all there.
So Tami, and if you have sparked that curiosity in people and they go to your website, you've also got a couple of books as well. And one you've co-written with Paul is Sport is Life and Life is Sport. And your own book, Presence to Power. Like, it'd be good. So I'm sitting here and I've got them both in front of me. What am I going to get out of Presence to Power? What am I going to get out of Sport is Life, Life is Sport? What's the one I'm going to go to first, or how am I going to make that delineation if I'm tuned in and want to bite on one of them?
I think it's personal preference for what you're looking for, but Sport is Life, Life is Sport, Paul and I did together. So it's really conversational. It's the things that, again, we're not trying to say that what we're doing is the way you got to do, but we just highlight some of the things that have worked really well for us with family balance, meditation, travel, just different things that we've used, I guess, in our family and in our experience, our relationship. And then with Presence to Power, I Am the Gift. It's a 21 chapter guidebook, and it starts people off. It's consecutive, so it builds along the way, if that makes sense. So each chapter builds upon the next. So you start off with being in the present moment, and it ends with unity consciousness, so that we are all interconnected. What we do does have an impact on others. So it leads you on this journey, but there's so many different skill sets that are explored in there, from self-love to forgiveness to a practice called Ho'oponopono, to forgiveness, journaling, meditation. So a lot of practices in there. Some of our limiting belief systems. So it's a very deep dive. It's a personal development book, but I found most people that get that book, and I was really excited. It did get bestseller status, so that was great. They tell me they keep it by their bed. Thank you. They tell me they keep it by their bedside table, and it's just one of those books that you can pick up at any time, and they'll flip open the page. They go, I needed to read that again right now. So that's really, for me, I guess, really heartwarming, that it's still actually helping people facilitate healing for them.
That's really powerful. You're obviously writing a new book in How to Move and Piggyback and Laugh at the Same Time with Paul. But besides that book, are you working on a new one at all that we can look forward to?
Well, it's funny. I actually said to Paul, I've got one ticking over my mind. So we're looking at that right now, doing this third book. So it's something that I haven't started writing yet, but it's definitely it's there, and it's been on my mind for a couple of months. So I think that will be coming.
Awesome. Okay, let's finish with this question. What are your 3 things that you need in your life to be healthy and happy?
Exercise, meditation, and connection.
Excellent.
Laughter. But connection. I think we need each other, and I think fundamentally that's being forgotten. We are human beings. We need connection. Laughter, joy, all those things. So I'm going to lump that in there because laughter is such a big piece. Yep. My meditation practice 100% sets me up for every single day. And again, I'm one of those people, I have to exercise. Yeah. So for me, that's my big ones. Yeah.
Tami, mate, this has been amazing. So much wisdom and so much information that you've shared with us today. I'm going to go do another meditation after this.
You need to. Yeah, you need to cheer up a bit.
No, but thank you for coming on the Changeroom podcast, Tami. We appreciate your time.
It was awesome.
Thank you so much. No, it was great. I really enjoyed it. Great questions too. So well done for both of you bringing the platform to life. Thanks you.
Thanks for listening to the Changeroom podcast, a whiff of wellbeing with Minnie and Matt. For more information about the Changeroom, please head to thechangeroom.info.